Democratic Congressman Jim McGovern of Massachusetts chairs the House Rules Committee. He managed today's debate and the vote in the bill to create a commission to investigate January 6th, and he joins me now. I want you to start with responding to this idea that this was some sort of partisan effort from the beginning where you just steamrolled the Republicans and just got your way because you want to use it as a weaponized political cudgel.
Well, as you pointed out at the beginning of the show, Kevin McCarthy got basically everything he wanted. I mean, he sent a letter to Speaker Pelosi talking about his demands, including an equal representation of Democrats and Republicans on the commission. He got it. He got everything. And yet he walked away. So he's either a worse negotiator than Donald Trump, getting everything he wants and then walking away, or he's a coward. He's afraid of Donald Trump. Donald Trump does not want the truth to be known, does not want this commission to move forward. And what was really frustrating about today's vote, again, I commend those 35 Republicans who stood with us, notwithstanding incredible pressure put on them by the Republican leadership. But this should have been a unanimous vote. And what was really also frustrating about today was that Kevin McCarthy didn't even have the guts to come on the House floor and defend his position. I mean, I don't know where the hell he was, maybe hiding under his desk, maybe talking to Donald Trump, who's in exile in Mar-a-Lago. But he didn't even have the guts or the decency to explain to the American people why he's not interested in them knowing what actually happened on January 6th.
Right. So he issues this. Could you show me that letter again? Just because. So he's writing a letter to the speaker saying these are the things I want in the commission. Right. And that big thing about equal representation was big. Right. That's the way 9/11.
Equal subpoena power. You get that, too. So all the things in this letter he got.
Was that, I don't get, what is your theory of the case here? Is that he was lying then and was just futzing around to kick the can, or he had a change of heart, or he got the phone call from the Mar-a-Lago, prison phone saying no good?
So I think he was hoping the Democrats would negotiate in bad faith. He was wrong. Chairman Thompson deserves a lot of credit.
He negotiated. He just thought it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, he just thought it wouldn't happen. That's number one. And then when it happened, he panicked and he got his orders from Donald Trump to kill it. Again, at a time when the American people really want their leaders of both parties to stand up for principle, to do what's right, and especially when it comes to getting to the truth about an insurrection, an attempt to overthrow our democracy. People want to know the truth, and they want it to be done in a way that is bipartisan, similar to what we did with the 9/11 Commission. So we presented that, and Kevin McCarthy couldn't take yes for an answer. I mean, it is really quite sad, and I don't quite know what Donald Trump has on him. But clearly, Kevin McCarthy is afraid to death of Donald Trump, and that's pathetic.
Well, and now you've got the Senate, too. I mean, there's a hurdle there. So 35 votes. But let me just ask you this. 35 votes in the House. Was that around? What was your over-under? What did you set the line at today?
Well, I was hoping for at least 30 votes or 40 votes, in the aftermath of the Republicans whipping against it. Yeah. So, I think it's a solid bipartisan vote. But again, the frustrating thing is it should have been unanimous. And, as far as Mitch McConnell goes, I don't know what it is about these Republicans. The more Donald Trump insults them, the more they want to cower to him. When Mitch McConnell said this was a partisan, bill, maybe he wasn't paying attention. Kevin McCarthy got everything he wanted in this bill. This is a truly bipartisan bill, and yet they couldn't take yes for an answer.
Yeah, 35 members of the House Republican caucus would equal around 9 Republicans in the Senate if you had the same percentage, which would maybe get you close to a filibuster-proof majority. Now it goes to the Senate, right? And the filibuster's in play there. I guess, if you're Chuck Schumer, you got to force him to filibuster, obviously.
Right. Yeah, but here's the deal. My hope is they won't filibuster and the Senate will pass this. But if not,
Congressman, I have news for you.
There's always hope, right? But if not, we need to proceed anyway. And if we have to proceed through a special select committee, we'll have to go that way. But the American people deserve the truth. I was there on January 6th. I was the last person off the House floor. I was presiding when that attack came. And I walked out into the Speaker's lobby and I saw this angry mob of homegrown fascists, banging and breaking the glass, trying to get at us. People walking around the Capitol with Confederate flags, with anti-Semitic shirts that said Camp Auschwitz. This is the group that attacked our democracy. And to just not acknowledge that, or to have some members, as you mentioned, try to say that nothing really happened that day is insulting and disrespectful. By the way, not to me and not to members of Congress, but to our staff, to the people who work up here, from the cafeteria workers to the Capitol Police. It's insulting to the American people who expect us, to respect our democratic institutions and to respect elections. So we're going to pursue this. My hope is that we can pursue this in a truly bipartisan way. And if that's not possible, we'll have to move forward with the Select Committee.